you would please find in your Bibles the book of Galatians. The book of Galatians chapter 5. Galatians chapter 5. We'll study this text together as we will be encouraged by our beloved Apostle Paul to live the spiritual life as opposed to a worldly life. Galatians chapter 5. I'll begin reading in verse 16 and we'll go down to verse 25. Galatians chapter 5, beginning with 16 and going down to verse 25. As we're making the decision, if we haven't already done so, we shall be spiritual people. I say then, walk in the Spirit, and you shall not fulfill the lust or the desires of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit, and the Spirit against the flesh. So there's a war going on there. And these are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish. Ever lived that kind of life for a time? Wanted to do something good and you just didn't get it done, or some bad things you wanted to avoid and wound up doing them anyway? That's what he's talking about here. Verse 18. But if you're led by the Spirit, you're not under the law. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry, sorcery, hatred. Notice this word, contentions, jealousies, outburst of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, and the like. Or King James says, and such like. So anything on this list or anything similar to this list, bad business to avoid. But now we find a better list shortly. Look at verse 22. But the fruit of the Spirit, person who's living a Spirit-filled, Spirit-led, God-led, Christ-led kind of life is going to have these precious characteristics. Fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, long-suffering, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such there is no law, obviously. Now 24 and 25. And those who are Christ, and that's us, we that have been baptized into Christ, those who are Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. We got up on that tree with Jesus. We were crucified with Him. We began living a new and better life. We got rid of the bad things with His help. Verse 25, if we live in the Spirit, which is our serious determination to do, if we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit. So, we're again about the business now of deciding or redeciding or reaffirming our decision to be godly people, to be peculiar people, to be people who are uniquely gifted by God to do good things. To be people who put aside things that are heartbreaking, heart-rending, heart-hurting to God, to ourselves, and to those that love us. We're deciding, redeciding, we're committing, we're recommitting, we're dedicating, we're rededicating ourselves to the glorious proposition to have these 9 special qualities every day about our lives. In 22 and 23 here of Galatians 5, you no doubt noted these amazing attributes of a spiritual person. In other words, these are amazing attributes that you possess, that I possess to the best of our ability, right? That's the goal. Did you notice here when we read through these the first time that these 9 can be grouped by 3s? Do you see that there? These first 3 in the group, don't they help us to focus more fervently on the God who has given us our love, our joy, and our peace. And then these second three here, that grouping helps us to focus on our behavior, our attitude towards each other, towards our fellow man, as we are long-suffering, patient with each other, as we are kind to each other, as we are good to each other. And then this third grouping, final three, helps us as we focus on ourselves. We're faithful, we are gentle, and we are in control with God's help of ourselves. Jesus said, before Paul wrote these words, that you can tell something about a tree by the fruit it bears. Obviously, we can tell something about our own selves according to the fruit that we bear, according to the evidence of our lives. When you go into a grocery store, you will note that the fruit is located in what we commonly call the produce section. So think of it this way. When we have the fruit of the Spirit, we will produce. We will be productive people. The Spirit living in us, God living in us, Christ living in us, causes us to produce these fruits of the Spirit, causes us to be productive people, highly motivated, high achieving in a spiritual realm. We're doing the good that Jesus died for us to do. We're doing the good that Jesus did while He was here. That's our fruit. That's our life. That's the evidence that we're living by the Spirit. That's the evidence that we belong to Him. You can tell a Christian by the good they do, by the fruit that we are privileged to bear. So these 9 terrific traits help us to produce, help us to be productive. First on the list is love. No surprise there that love would be the first one mentioned there. Love, in a sense, it is the grand marshal of this parade of graces. It is the leader. It is the quality that pulls the train. Jesus said love is the greatest command. So if loving God is the greatest, and real close to that, number 2 is loving each other as we love ourselves and as Jesus has loved us. Command number 1 is all about love. Command number 2 is all about love. Then wouldn't we think just logically that the greatest 2 sins we could ever possibly commit would be number 1, to not love God with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our soul, with all our strength? That there can be no greater sin we could possibly ever commit than to have something or somebody above God or anywhere near to our love of God? And if that be the first greatest sin we can commit, then the second would be failing to love one another as we love ourselves, as Jesus has loved us. No, as children of God who are walking by the Spirit, who have fruits of the Spirit in our lives, we first and foremost are to be known for our love for God, who first loved us. And then we are to be known, secondly, for our love for each other. What do you think about those who worship at the Tuscumbia Church of Christ? I think they love God above all. I think they love each other as Jesus loves us. That should be our reputation. How do we get that reputation? By loving God first and foremost. By loving each other as Jesus has loved us. First, foremost, let us be people who have the fruit of practical, visible, observable love. And then the second word on the list of 9 is joy. Joy. See, our fruitful, good, spiritual life produces a way of living that pleases God first, that gives Him joy. But then certainly we are pleased, aren't we, at ourselves when we do good things, when we make good decisions, when we have God first. And not only does a godly life please us, please God, but certainly it would please those in our circles of love and influence who have the pleasure of living with us, putting up with us, And we'd all prefer to be around people who are joyful, who are loving, who are exhibiting these fruits of the Spirit. See, some people, as the saying goes, they brighten a room by entering it. And that's the kind of people we want to be. Some people brighten a room by leaving that room. That's not the way we want to be. We want to bring pleasure to people's life. We want to enhance, to refresh, to encourage. We don't want to always be that cloud that shows up, that just rains on every possible parade. We're better than that. We love by the Spirit. We live by the Spirit, which means we have joy. Philippians 4, verse 4. Rejoice in the Lord always. In case we missed it, he says, and again I say, rejoice. The Spirit helps us to do that, just as it helps us to love. Third word on the list is the word peace. Peace. Peace is so precious. Jesus in Isaiah actually is called the Prince of Peace. Galatians 6, we're taught that we obey a gospel of peace. 1 Corinthians reminds us that our God is not a God of confusion, but rather of peace. Peace is what Christ is all about. It's what Christianity is all about. It must be what we're all about. Jesus said, blessed or joyful are the peacemakers, Matthew 5:9. They shall be called the children of God. There's no greater title we could ever be given. No greater description could be attached to us than to say we are God's children. And if we want that grand title, we must be peacemakers. We must be bridge builders. Other folks build walls and focus on the divisions and the differences and the things to be spiteful over and argue about and have contentions and conflict. That can't be us. Not as we're walking by the Spirit. Not as we're seeking to be as Jesus has directed us frequently to be. United, one, peace. And let us commit ourselves to that. Probably the noblest thing you'll ever do in your life is to help 2 people get along, or 10 people get along, or to have people get along better with God. That's the noble calling that we have been assigned, to be peacemakers. I like the monuments and the statues, just as you do, we have in our country, our culture, of all those who were great heroes of war. But it'd be nice to see a couple monuments to the peacemakers, to somebody who made a decision that averted a war, that averted bloodshed, that averted a church division or a family division or a friendship division. Peace is something we strive to have every day. And then this next word, long suffering. We are actually here directed to be in the original. The word is more, not so much long suffering, but long tempered. You know, somebody that's short-tempered, they have to be so careful around them or they're just going to fly off the handle, and they're going to be, if not violent with their hands, they're going to be violent with their words. Well, this is the opposite of that. The idea is long-tempered. It just takes a lot to frustrate us. It takes a lot to rile us up and agitate us and aggravate us. We have developed, with God's help, the ability to be patient, to be long-tempered, to be long-suffering. And to me, God's most impressive attributes, are all terrific, of course, is His patience, is His long-temperedness. Remember, He's long-suffering. Peter tells us, not willing that any should perish. Think about how patient He's been with us. How often He gives us opportunity to, yes, sin, but then to get over it and to repent of that and to bring forth, as John would say, fruits of repentance. He's so patient with our world, our goofiness, our unrighteousness, and He delays bringing down His wrath, and that ought to be a pattern for each of us. If God can be patient with Jeff, then surely Jeff can be patient with everybody in his life, and so can you. We've got to develop a godly ability to be patient with people, understanding that we're all growing. We should be. We're all in the process of getting better. And if I were going to, and maybe you do this as you go through this list of 9, I try to make it personal to me and just figure out, now, which of these do I struggle with most? Because, we probably, none of us have mastered all 9 of these as we would like, or most importantly as God would like. And probably I would say patience is going to be closer to the top of the list for me. I pray for patience right now. Maybe you do that too. It's hard for me. But we got to understand that God's not finished with anybody, right? Until we're dead. He doesn't judge anybody till they're dead, actually. Why is that? Because people have the potential to change, the potential to grow, the potential and the promise of improvement with God's help. Now think about the way some of us used to be compared to how we are now, and we're better than we were. And we hope that as we compare a future Jeff to a present Jeff, that he's even better in the future than he is today. And you hope that you're even better in the future than you are today. And you hope those in your circle of love and influence are even better in the future than they are today. So why can't we pray towards that end? Why can't we expect that? We got to get away from labeling somebody or labeling a circumstance or maybe even a congregation saying, well, that's just the way it is. That's the way they are. They've always been that way. Mom was that way. Dad was that way. Grandpa was that way, and so on. But that's not demonstrating a whole lot of patience and a whole lot of expectation of better times. Just think about this congregation. It's made up of people. It's an obvious. It's made up of imperfect people, another obvious. But I'm convinced that God's not through with any people, any person here. And that means then He's not through with this congregation. Right? That are we, humbly said, are we a great congregation? Yes, in many ways we are. However, are we a congregation in great need of continuing to improve, to sharpen some rough places, to tidy up some matters, and to tend to some knitting, and absolutely, and so that requires attentiveness to those situations, those persons, those families, those issues, and trying to get better. But also it requires some amount of patience. Some amount of patience. What's the old cliche? Rome was not built in a day, and the Tuscumbia Church of Christ will not be built in a day. We will not always be what we ought to be every day, and certainly not this day. But we've got to keep making forward progress, right? But we've got to allow ourselves time. Allow the individuals on these pews around you time to develop, to become more godly, more spiritual. I don't want to come across as Martin Luther King here, but I have a dream, and you have a dream, and God has a dream. And the dream is that we all become even more conformed to the image of His Son. That we work on these 9 attributes in particular. And we're right now hung up on this word patience. That we develop that in a way that helps those around us to develop. That we have an atmosphere where the unfriendly can become more friendly, where the unforgiving can become more forgiving, where those that just struggle with so many issues can have the time and can have the fertile soul that they can grow into a person who is able to triumph with God's help over those images or over those issues and challenges. So patience with each other, patience with self, got to be one of our higher priorities. And then this next word, kindness. Kindness. Fruit of the Spirit. Kindness. Ephesians 4:32. And be kind one to another. Tender-hearted. Forgiving one another. Even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. Kindness. It means that we're going to treat others as we want others to treat us. Every time in every situation we'll treat others as we want them to treat us. It means in every situation we will speak to others as we want them to speak to us. It means in every situation we will speak of others as we want others to speak of us. Kindness. Kindness. Jenna, plug your ears. It won't be too embarrassing. When Jenna was a very little girl, we were down at Azalea City. And this other little boy, his name was Will. We're riding home from church one day. Jenna spouts out from the back seat, "I love Will." So she needs a spanking, right? So I say, "Jenna, what do you mean when you say, 'I love Will'?" And she says, "It means I will be sweet to him." That's what Paul's talking about here. That is the essence of kindness. It means we will be sweet to each other. Not bitter, not sour, sweet to each other. Number 6 on the list is the word goodness. Goodness. In the original actually means benevolent. Benevolent. Barnabas was good because he was benevolent. Dorcas was good because she was benevolent. When we are benevolent, it means we'll be good people. We are as good as our deeds, essentially. Not so much as good as our talk about what we'll do or our intentions. Wow, it's so easy to have good intentions. I've got a ton of them. The challenge is in the doing of those things, of being benevolent, being extra good, and giving to others of our heart, our time, our financial resources. And while I'm speaking to champion benevolent people today, I don't know that I've ever been blessed to be around more benevolent people than you. Thank you very much for practicing this fruit of the Spirit. And then this next word, faithfulness, comes from the Greek word pistis, P-I-S-T-I-S. And I love this definition of it. When we are faithful, it means we have the virtue of reliability. We have the virtue of reliability. If we say we're going to do it, we do it. If we say we're not going to do it, we're not going to do it. We keep our vows. We keep our commitments. We are faithful to our God. We are faithful to those in our lives that God has given us to love. Revelation 2:10 says, "Be faithful unto death, even as you're dying, and I'll give you a crown of life." Faithfulness. Number 8 word is gentleness. Gentleness. Fruit of the Spirit. Evidence. We are gentle. We're gentle with each other. We enjoy gentle, don't we? We enjoy the gentle breeze, the gentle rain, the gentle dentist. We want our teachers to be gentle. Harsh wind, no. Harsh rain, no. Harsh dentist, none of us would raise our hand for that. Harsh words, we don't want that. We want soft words coming from soft hearts. Jesus is the Lamb of God. Gentle. There are times when He was a lion that needed to roar. And we will have times when we need to roar. But let us be reluctant to do that when first a gentle reply, a gentle demeanor, that should be first. That should be first. Be gentle. Be gentle. Last word, self-control. The original word here has more along the lines of the idea of strength. Be a strong person who with God's help can control desires. There are certain M's, in particular some words that start with M that seem especially relevant to us, practical to us as we want to have these good fruits of the Spirit. We need to be able to control our mood. That's hard to do when things don't go the way we want them to go. Amen? With God's help, we've got to find a way to control our mood. With God's help, we've got to find a way to be able to control another M, money, and our desire for money. I will not get on the soapbox for long this morning, but for your consideration, folks, I have bragged about from this pulpit to you in the pew numerous times, the Duck Dynasty clan, the Robertson family. since I have bragged so frequently of them, I do want you to be aware that I will no longer be bragging of certain qualities in their life. They've done many good things in many respects, been a great platform for goodness, for godliness, and have done more to advance the cause of Christ than Jeff Abrams has done. I acknowledge that and I recognize that. I'm proud of them. I'm proud that there are many people, I believe, who are Christians today because of their witness, their testimony, their example, and their television show. But they make a profit from three industries that destroy people I love. The gambling industry, they now receive a profit from that industry. There is a lottery in Missouri that has their name on it, on the tickets you can buy. Duck Dynasty, making a profit from a vice that destroys a lot of people I care about and you care about. Appear at many casinos promoting the gambling industries, one of the filthiest industries ever devised by the devil, gambling. They also profit now from the alcohol industry. You know the damage that alcohol has done to my family and many of your families. Now selling wine, and they brag that it just costs $10 a bottle. That means it's going to be more easily, readily consumed. A lot of people. And they also sell a cigar. So many of you have lost so many people because of their addiction to tobacco and the damage that it has done. I'm just saying the best of us, and I think the Robertson family is some of the best people ever walked on this earth, but the best of us can be lured into poor judgments by the love of money and the love of what money can do. By the way, I have sent numerous communications to the Robertson family about this issue. Very kind, I promise you, very kind, very well thought out, prayed about, and have yet to receive a reply. I've asked to meet with them, come very graciously talk about these things. I hope that one day we can have that kind of discussion. But we've got to practice self-control. We've got to practice self-control. It means we've got to be able, with God's help, to control our mood, to control our desire for money. It also means we need to control our mouth. We've got to find a way to control our mouth. And then another M would be meals. I know it's Thanksgiving. By the way, Thanksgiving time we eat a lot. I heard the other day that just as we set our clocks back this time of year, 1 hour, we get to set the scales back 10 pounds during Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that's pretty good for most of us. But we do have to control that desire, don't we? To just eat too much. Just eat too much. So, mood, money, mouth, meals, and there's some other things that we could probably work on that we, with God's help, need to do a better job of controlling. Control self. Control self. It's a fruit of the Spirit. Let's find a way, with God's help, with the Spirit's help, to do just that. How you doing on this list? 1 is love. 2 is joy. 3 is peace. 4 is long-suffering. 5 is kindness. 6 is goodness. 7 is faithfulness. 8 is gentleness. And 9 is self-control. If there are 1 or 2 or 9 of those that we need to work on a little bit better, let's get to the doing of that, trusting that the God who has challenged us to live this kind of life will not withhold from us the ability to live that kind of life, that He'll equip us with all necessary resources and tools to walk by these fruits of the Spirit, to have overwhelming evidence of our godliness, of our spirituality, of our desire to put away the things of this world, to embrace the things of God. We're about to stand and sing a song of invitation. It invites us to make a public statement about our desire to be a better person, to be a better Christian, to be a more godly person. Gives us an opportunity to confess sins, to request prayers from the family that meets here. Gives us an opportunity to confess our belief in Jesus and be immersed in water for the remission of every sin we've committed. It begins there in the water of Jesus. It begins a wonderful and new way of living. Let's embrace it now if we have that need, while together we stand and sing.